I remember standing in that doorway thinking, if I take one more step inside, something is going to happen that I can't undo. The guy was smiling at me, but it wasn't the kind of smile you give someone who just brought you dinner. It was tight and patient, like he was waiting for something else entirely. Behind him, the apartment was dark except for a single lamp in the corner. I could hear a television playing somewhere deeper inside, low and muffled, like it had been turned down on purpose. And then he said, "You can just set it on the counter. It's further in." I was 22 at the time, delivering for a small local sandwich and pizza place during my last year of community college. This was in 2014, before delivery apps tracked you every second and before stores required you to take photos of drop-offs. We still took orders over the phone, wrote them down by hand, and used our own cars. It was a decent job. Cash tips most nights, flexible hours, and my manager trusted me with the late runs because I didn't complain. The only downside was the apartment complexes on the edge of town. They were older buildings, half-renovated, poorly lit, and confusing to navigate. GPS worked, but it would sometimes drop you in the wrong lot or tell you you'd arrived when you were nowhere near the right unit. That night had already been long. It was raining steadily, not a storm, just enough to make everything slick and reflective. I remember my windshield wipers squeaking because I hadn't replaced them in months. It was close to closing time when the order came in. 2 large pizzas, breadsticks, and a 2-liter. Paid in cash. The address was for an apartment complex I'd only been to once before. At first, nothing felt off, just inconvenient. The building numbers were hard to see in the rain. The lot lights flickered, and half of them were out. I parked near what I thought was the right staircase and double-checked the receipt under the dome light in my car. Building C, 2nd floor, Unit 214. The stairwell smelled faintly like mildew and cigarette smoke. Not unusual. A lot of these older complexes had that permanent, damp smell. I remember adjusting the stack of pizza boxes in my hands and trying not to slip on the wet concrete steps. When I knocked on 214, there was no answer. I waited, knocked again, still nothing. I was about to call the number on the receipt when I heard the deadbolt unlock. The door opened just a few inches, stopped by the security chain. I could only see part of his face through the gap, one eye, part of his cheek, and a sliver of his mouth. "Yeah?" he said. His voice was flat, not rude, not friendly, just blank. "You ordered 2 larges and breadsticks?" I asked. There was a pause that felt longer than it should have been. Then he said, "Oh, right, yeah." The chain slid free, and the door opened wider. He stepped back, but not enough for me to comfortably hand him the food from where I was standing. I had to lean slightly forward to close the distance. That's when I noticed how dark the apartment was. The only light came from a small lamp behind him and the TV glow from another room. The rest of the place was shadowed. I couldn't see any ceiling lights on. It struck me as odd, because most people turn lights on when they're expecting a delivery. He didn't reach for his wallet. Instead, he said, "It's kind of wet out there. You can come in if you want." I hesitated. We were always told not to enter unless absolutely necessary. If someone needed change, they could grab it and come back. Simple. "I'm good," I said, shifting the boxes. "Total's $27.50. He looked at me for a moment, not at the food, at me. "Yeah," he said slowly. "I've got it." "Just left it on the kitchen counter?" He gestured vaguely over his shoulder. That was the first moment my stomach tightened. Most people keep cash in their wallet, on a table near the door, or at least in the same room. Leaving it somewhere deeper in the apartment felt strange. Still, I tried to keep it normal. "I can wait here," I said. Another pause. "You sure?" he asked. "It's no problem." "I'm sure." He didn't move. For a second, we just stood there looking at each other. Then he gave a small nod and turned away, walking further into the apartment. I could hear his footsteps fade down what sounded like a short hallway. That's when I noticed something else. The TV wasn't playing a show. It was static. Low-volume static. That soft hissing sound. I don't know why that detail stuck with me. but it did. I shifted my weight and glanced down the hallway he disappeared into. From where I stood, I could see part of the living room. The furniture was sparse. A couch against the wall. No decorations. No pictures. No coffee table. And no food smells. Usually, when someone orders pizza, you can smell other food, candles, laundry detergent, etc. This place had no scent at all, just stale air. Then I heard a voice. Not his. It was faint, like someone whispering from deeper in the apartment. I froze. A few seconds later, he came back into view, but he wasn't holding money. He was holding his phone. "Hey," he said casually, leaning against the hallway wall. "Can I ask you something?" My grip tightened on the pizza boxes. Sure. Do you ever get scared doing this job?" The question caught me off guard. "Not really," I lied. He studied me again, like he was measuring something. "There's a lot of weird people out there," he said. "You just walk up to strangers' doors." I forced a small laugh. "Comes with the territory, I guess." Another silence. Then, from somewhere behind him, I heard that whisper again. Clearer this time. A quick, sharp murmur I couldn't make out. He didn't react to it. I did. "Is someone else here?" I asked before I could stop myself. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. "My brother," he said. "He's shy." The way he said it didn't feel natural. It sounded rehearsed. He finally pushed off the wall and walked back down the hallway. I couldn't see him anymore, but I could hear movement. Not just one set of footsteps this time. Two. My heart started pounding harder. I took a half step back from the doorway without even thinking about it. He returned with a few crumpled bills in his hand. As he approached, I noticed something I hadn't before. The chain lock on the door wasn't hanging loose. It was still attached to the frame, like it had been re-hooked, but I hadn't heard it slide back into place. He stopped about 2 feet away from me, holding out the cash. I reached forward to take it, and that's when I saw, over his shoulder, at the end of the hallway, another man. He was standing completely still, half hidden in the darkness. I could only see part of his face and one shoulder. He wasn't blinking, just staring directly at me. Not shy, watching. My chest went tight. Every instinct I had was screaming that something was wrong. I counted the bills quickly. $25. "It's $27. $50, I said automatically. He tilted his head slightly. "Is it?" There was no confusion in his voice. No apology. From the hallway, the other man took a slow step forward. I felt it then. That shift. That moment where you realize you're not in control of the situation. "It's fine," I said quickly, handing $2 back. "Actually, we had a special. It's just $25 tonight." I don't know why I said that. I just wanted an excuse to leave. For the first time, he smiled wider. "That's good," he said softly. I handed him the food and stepped back into the hallway outside the apartment. He didn't close the door right away. He just stood there watching me. As I turned toward the stairs, I heard the second man laugh. It wasn't loud, just a short, quiet exhale of a laugh. I didn't look back again. I took the stairs 2 at a time, nearly slipping on the wet concrete. My hands were shaking so badly, I fumbled my car keys twice before unlocking the door. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I glanced up at the second-floor window of Unit 214. Both of them were standing there, side by side, watching my car leave. I didn't tell my manager the full story, just said the guys were weird and shorted me a couple bucks. He shrugged and told me to be more careful. After that night, I stopped stepping even partially inside people's apartments. If they didn't have the money ready at the door, I waited outside. No exceptions. For months, I kept thinking about that whisper, about the way the second guy just stood there in the dark, about the chain lock that seemed to reattach itself. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe they were just awkward, socially off, or messing with me for their own entertainment. But sometimes, when I'm dropping food off at someone's house, even now, years later, and the door opens just a little too slowly, I think about that apartment. And I remember how close I came to walking all the way inside. I'm 22 now, but this happened when I was 20, living in Mesa, Arizona. At the time, I was a full-time community college student trying to save up enough money to transfer to a university. I worked nights delivering for a third-party food delivery app, one of the big ones everyone uses. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than retail. And I liked driving around listening to podcasts with the windows down once the desert heat finally broke after sunset. Mesa is mostly quiet neighborhoods and long, flat roads that stretch forever under orange streetlights. During the day, it's busy and hot. At night, especially on weekdays, it can feel almost empty. That's something I actually liked about the job. Most deliveries were simple. Pick up food, drop it off, snap a photo, move on. This happened in late October of 2023. It was a Tuesday night, a little after 11:30 p.m. I remember because I had a midterm the next morning and had promised myself I'd stop taking orders at midnight. Business had been steady, but not overwhelming. I just finished a drop-off near a gated apartment complex when another order popped up. It was for a decent payout, $18 for about a 20-minute drive total. The restaurant was still open, a Mexican place that stayed busy late, and the delivery address was only about 8 miles away, out toward a newer housing development on the edge of town. I almost declined it because I was tired, but $18 for one more run felt worth it. The pickup was normal. The staff looked exhausted, the kitchen smelled like grilled meat and grease, and the bag was warm enough that it fogged up my passenger side window a little. I tossed it in my insulated carrier and headed out. The drive started off typical, wide roads, hardly any cars. As I got closer to the address though, streetlights became less frequent. The newer developments out there were still under construction. Some homes were finished and occupied. Others were just empty frames or lots of dirt surrounded by temporary fencing. When I pulled up the GPS map, I noticed something odd. The blue dot marking the house was near the very end of a cul-de-sac that backed up to open desert. No through roads, just one way in and one way out. That's not unusual, but I remember feeling slightly annoyed. If I had to turn around in a tight space, it would be a waste of time. I turned onto the street and immediately noticed how dark it was. Only every other house seemed occupied. Some had porch lights on, others were completely black. The one I was delivering to was the second to last house before the dirt lot at the end. The porch light wasn't on. I slowed down, double-checking the address numbers with my headlights. The house looked finished, blinds drawn, no cars in the driveway. The delivery instructions said, "Leave at the door. Do not knock." Pretty standard. I parked at the curb and left my engine running. I always did that for quick drop-offs. I grabbed the bag and walked up the driveway. That's when the first small thing hit me. It was too quiet. I don't mean peaceful. I mean silent. No dogs barking. No distant traffic. No TVs inside. Even the usual hum of air conditioning units was absent. I told myself I was overthinking it. It was late. People were asleep. I stepped onto the porch and set the food down gently. As I pulled out my phone to take the confirmation photo, I noticed the front window blinds shift slightly. Just a quick movement, like someone inside had brushed them with their hand. I froze for a second, staring at the dark gap between the slats. I couldn't see anything in there. No face, no light, just darkness. Probably just the AC kicking on, I muttered to myself. I snapped the photo, marked the order as delivered, and turned around. That's when I heard gravel crunch behind me. Not from the street, from the side of the house. I stopped mid-step. It was faint but distinct. Slow, deliberate steps on loose gravel, like someone walking carefully. My heart started beating harder. I told myself it was a neighbor. Maybe someone is taking out trash. I didn't turn around right away. I didn't want to look paranoid. I walked down the driveway at a normal pace. The crunching stopped. I reached my car and opened the driver's door. Just as I was about to sit down, I glanced up at the side yard of the house I'd just delivered to. There was a man standing between that house and the one next to it. He wasn't on the porch. He wasn't near the door. He was halfway down the narrow side yard, partially hidden by shadow. just standing there, watching me. I couldn't make out much detail, but I could tell he was tall. Hoodie pulled up, arms hanging loosely at his sides. He wasn't holding anything that I could see. We locked eyes. At least I think we did. I could barely see his face, but I felt it. That unmistakable sense that someone is focused entirely on you. I gave a small, awkward nod, like you do when you accidentally make eye contact with a stranger. He didn't move, didn't wave, didn't speak, just stood there. A cold wave of unease ran through me. My instincts were telling me something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I got in my car and shut the door, trying to stay calm. As I shifted into drive, I checked my mirrors. He was walking now, not toward the front door, toward the sidewalk, toward the street, toward me. My pulse spiked. I eased my foot off the brake and rolled forward slowly. I didn't want to floor it and look crazy, but I also didn't want to sit there. In my rearview mirror, I saw him step into the street, not waving, not signaling me, just standing in the middle of the road, blocking the only way out of the cul-de-sac. My stomach dropped. For a split second, I thought maybe he was the customer and wanted to ask about the order. But he wasn't holding a phone, and he hadn't come from the front door. He took a few slow steps toward my car. I locked the doors, even though they were probably already locked. He was about 20 feet away now. Then he started walking faster. That's when it clicked in my head. This isn't normal. He's not confused. He's not asking a question. He's coming at me. I hit the gas, not aggressively, just enough to move past him before he could reach my driver's side door. He lunged toward the side of my car as I passed. I heard a loud smack against the rear door, like his hand hitting the metal. Adrenaline flooded my body. My hands were shaking so badly on the steering wheel, I could barely keep it straight. In the mirror, I saw him turn and run after the car. Run, full sprint. For a second, I genuinely thought he might catch up. I was only going about 25 as I curved around the cul-de-sac. Once I straightened out onto the main stretch, I floored it. I didn't look back again until I reached the stop sign at the entrance of the development. The street behind me was empty. No headlights, no figure running, nothing. But my chest felt tight, and I couldn't take a full breath. I drove about 2 miles before pulling into a brightly lit gas station. I parked right under the overhead lights and just sat there, trying to calm down. My hands were trembling. I realized I'd been holding my breath for who knows how long. I checked the app to see if the customer had messaged me. Nothing. No complaints. No follow-up. And then something else hit me. The delivery was marked as "Leave at door." So why was someone waiting in the side yard? And why block my only exit? I considered calling the police, but what would I say? A guy stood in the street and ran toward my car? I didn't have a clear description. No license plate. No proof. After about 10 minutes, I ended my dash early and went home. The next morning, I checked my car in daylight. There was a faint handprint-shaped smear on the rear door, like someone had hit it with a dusty palm. I never accepted another order out in that development again. Since that night, I've changed how I work. I don't leave my engine running anymore. I keep it in drive and stay alert. I scan every yard before I get out. If a house is too dark or isolated, I cancel. I don't care about the payout. I also stopped delivering past 10 page. Before that night, I thought the biggest risk of the job was a bad tip or a traffic accident. I didn't think about being cornered at the end of a dark street with only one way out. Mesa still feels like home to me. It's not some crime-ridden city, but that experience flipped a switch in my head. It taught me that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just stands in the shadows, watching, waiting to see what you'll do. And sometimes, the only reason you make it home safe is because you trusted that sudden, uncomfortable feeling in your gut and didn't ignore it. A couple of years ago, I was delivering food full-time. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. I just graduated from community college, was working part-time at a warehouse, and doing delivery apps at night to help cover my car payment and chip away at some credit card debt. I was still living with my older brother at the time, splitting rent in a small townhouse outside the city. Money was tight, and I was in that phase where you say yes to every extra shift, because saying no feels irresponsible. I preferred working late nights. Less traffic, better tips, and more stacked orders. After 10 page. It was mostly fast food runs and the occasional gas station snack order. Nothing glamorous, but it paid. The night this happened was a Thursday. I remember because I had work at the warehouse at 7 a.m. the next morning and told myself I'd only stay out until midnight. Around 11:15 page. I got a decent paying order. 1 bag, short distance, decent tip already included. Pickup was from a burger place that stayed open late. The drop-off was about 15 minutes away, out past the newer developments and closer to a stretch of older homes and scattered farmland. I'd delivered out that way before. It wasn't unusual, just darker and quieter. I picked up the food without issue. The restaurant was busy, music playing, people laughing inside. Completely normal. I confirmed the order and started driving. The first 5 minutes were through lit streets and neighborhoods. Porch lights on, TVs flickering through living room windows, cars parked along the curb. Then the houses got farther apart. Streetlights thinned out. Eventually, it was mostly long driveways and big patches of trees between properties. I didn't think much of it at first. I had my music playing low and the GPS guiding me. But when I turned onto the final road, I remember turning the music off. It was one of those narrow 2-lane roads with no streetlights at all. Just my headlights cutting through the dark. Trees lined both sides, and there weren't any sidewalks. The GPS said I had about half a mile to go. As I drove, I noticed something else. No other cars. No houses with lights on. Just darkness beyond the tree line. The address was at the very end of the road. When I pulled up, the house was set back from the street with a gravel driveway. It wasn't abandoned or anything, just older, single story. Small porch, but there were no lights on. Not in the windows, not on the porch. That was the first moment I felt a small knot in my stomach. Usually, when people expect a delivery, they at least turn on a porch light. I double-checked the address on the mailbox. It matched. I parked near the end of the driveway, but kept my headlights on. I grabbed the food and stepped out. The night was completely silent. No dogs barking. No insects chirping. Just that quiet, heavy stillness. The delivery instructions said, "Hand it to me." I walked up the gravel driveway, every step crunching louder than it should have. The grass on both sides looked overgrown, brushing against my ankles as I stepped closer to the porch. I knocked. Nothing. I waited about 20 seconds, then knocked again. Still nothing. I pulled out my phone and messaged through the app. "Hey, I'm outside with your order." It showed red almost immediately. Then a reply. "Be right there." I stared at the dark windows, expecting a light to flick on. Nothing changed. I shifted my weight and glanced back toward my car. It suddenly felt very far away. Another minute passed. I typed again, just confirming this is 2147. The typing bubble appeared right away. It stayed there for a while. Then, "Yes, I see you." That made me pause. I looked around the yard. I looked at the windows again. I didn't see anyone. I replied, "Okay." Another message came through. "Come to the side of the house." I frowned. The instructions hadn't mentioned that before, and I really don't like deviating from the front door unless it's clearly written in the notes. I responded, "I'm at the front porch." Typing bubble again. "Yeah, I'm around the side. Come here." Something about that made my chest tighten. I scanned the property again. No movement, no lights, just darkness wrapping around the house. I considered leaving the food on the porch and marking it delivered, but it required a handoff, and I didn't want a complaint or a bad rating. I stepped off the porch and walked slowly along the side of the house, using my phone's flashlight. The beam caught peeling paint, a couple trash bins, and a small side window covered with blinds. Then I heard it. A voice, low, male. "Keep coming." It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. But it wasn't close either. I stopped walking. "Where are you?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Back here." The flashlight shook slightly in my hand. I didn't see anyone. Then I heard footsteps in the gravel behind me. I turned quickly, and before I could process what was happening, someone grabbed my shoulder from the dark. I stumbled back, dropping the food. Another person stepped into the beam of my flashlight. Both of them had hoodies up. One had something covering the lower half of his face. "Relax," the one closest to me said. "Just give us your wallet." It didn't feel real at first. My brain lagged behind what was happening. I don't have cash," I said automatically. "Phone too," the other one said. I could hear a third set of footsteps somewhere behind them. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. "I'm just delivering food," I said. "You can take the food." "Shut up," the first guy snapped, stepping closer. I noticed then that he was holding something in his hand. I couldn't tell if it was a knife or just something metal, but I wasn't about to test it. I handed over my phone. Then my wallet. My hands were shaking badly. One of them shoved me lightly against the siding of the house. Not hard enough to injure me, but enough to let me know they could. "Keys," someone else said from the dark. That's when real panic set in. "My car, please," I said. "I need that." "Keys?" the voice repeated. I hesitated for half a second too long. The guy in front of me grabbed my hoodie and slammed me harder against the wall. My head hit something solid. My vision sparked. "Don't make this worse," he said quietly. I handed over my keys. They stepped back, and for a second, no one moved. Then one of them said, "Get in the house." My stomach dropped. "I'm not going in there," I said. The tone shifted instantly. One of them shoved me again, and I lost my footing, falling onto the gravel. I felt a sharp pain in my elbow. "Get up." I scrambled backward instead. And that's when I made the decision that probably saved me. I screamed, as loud as I could. Not words, just a full, raw yell. It caught them off guard. One of them cursed. Another said, "Shut him up!" But I kept screaming. A porch light flicked somewhere down the road. That tiny square of yellow light changed everything. The guy nearest me panicked. "Forget it. Let's go." I heard rapid footsteps, gravel scattering. An engine turned over. My engine. I scrambled to my feet just in time to see my car's taillights disappear down the driveway. And then it was quiet again. I stood there shaking, barely able to breathe. After about 30 seconds, I forced myself to move. I actually ran, down the driveway and toward the house with the porch light on. I must have looked insane, covered in dirt, out of breath, half hysterical. A middle-aged man opened the door, but kept the screen shut. "I've been robbed," I said. "They took my car. Please call the police." He didn't hesitate. He stepped back inside and told someone to call 911. The police showed up within 10 minutes. I gave them everything I could remember. The order name, the messages, descriptions. They drove me back to the house at the end of the road. It was vacant. For sale sign out front. No furniture inside. The account that placed the order had been created that same day with a prepaid card. They found my car 2 days later, abandoned in a grocery store parking lot about 40 minutes away. It was mostly intact. They'd taken anything of value inside and ditched it. No arrests were ever made. The detective told me this kind of thing wasn't common, but it wasn't unheard of either. Lure drivers to isolated locations. Easy targets, expecting them to be alone. I stopped delivering at night after that. Actually, I stopped completely for a few months. Even now, years later, I'm careful about where I park. I pay attention to houses with no lights on. I trust that tight feeling in my chest a lot more than I used to. The biggest thing I learned is this: if something feels off, you don't owe anyone politeness. You don't owe an app a completed delivery. You don't owe a stranger the benefit of the doubt in the dark. You can replace a bad rating. You can't replace your safety. And sometimes the only reason you make it home is because you decided to listen to that small voice telling you to get out.